Thank you so much for joining me for this yoga session. Please make sure that you have all the things you need in order to support you, even something to drink to keep your body hydrated. And then find yourself coming to that comfortable seat, or really showing up anyway your energy is dictating. So if that means laying down, of course honor that. Whatever you're doing, you're becoming aware of your body and your breath. Setting aside all that's going on in the world, all that's going on in your life, as much as you can, knowing it'll be there when we're done. But this time you take to connect to yourself, to nourish your source, so then you can go out and, take care of business and get stuff done. Because we need all hands on deck. And if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not showing up on the deck in a good place. And it's good to be in a good place, because this work, though it's hard and long and never ending, the work to just be a good human is worth it. Breathe full and deep, navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. So you started to build that 3-part yoga breath. Letting that 3-part yoga breath, that breath help to oxygenate your blood. You are right away showing up and giving yourself kindness and compassion and love. And all that together is really grace. So you're giving yourself grace to move just however you are. So meet yourself right where you're at. It's one of the hardest things to do, is to meet yourself and other people right where they're at, but it is one of the best life skills. And I'll tell you, it starts with your breath. Finding that space between your thoughts. Don't follow the train of thought, the story about your future, about your past. Just be with your breath and yourself right here, right now. Start to engage that trunk, that lower body. Make sure that if your legs are getting tingly, you are rearranging yourself so they're no longer getting tingly. Always taking care of yourself, protecting the most delicate and vulnerable part of your body. And then when you find that comfortable seat, start to engage that lower girdle. Pull that back body down, lift that front body. Press those knees away, flex those feet as much as feels good, and you have created this wonderful, fabulous, secure base. And it's coming from within. Maybe you can feel the sitting bones pressing into the place underneath you, plugging in. You're doing a body scan to notice how you feel. Once again, no harsh judgments. It's just to become aware, to meet yourself where you're at with kindness, compassion, and love. And so you've created this solid base with this engagement in the lower pelvis. Now on your next exhale, lift yourself up out of that lower body, but stay with that awareness of engagement of the whole body. The heart lifts into the space in front of you, so don't let the legs relax too much. Blades gently come down. They're not squeezed together, but they're active and pulled down. It's like your wings are tucking in. You're pulling the crown of your head up to the sky, and you're gently pulling the tail down to the floor. Finding that length in between, letting that upper to mid to upper, or right in the chest, the pectoral girdle. So both those girdles work together to help keep you lifted and supported. The navel and the heart on top of each other. The glutes and the shoulder blades and the back body. You start to see how that lift, the front body is supported by the back body. Still, you're breathing full and deep. The 3-part yoga breath can be so full and so deep that as you fill up that lower third, you press that navel into the space in front of you. The middle third, feel those ribs move up and apart, and the breath goes into the upper third. Feel that heart move up in your chest. Exhale, heart and chest relax, and then ribs move down and together, and then pull that navel back and up into your body. And then the inhale happens again. You fill up navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. And you do all that with complete engagement of your body, and you're only doing that engagement to the degree that feels good to you. And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But a lot of the awareness of how you're holding yourself, how the front body lifts, the back body pulls down, that's a valuable life skill as well, I believe. So that will be my intention as we move through this practice, to bring your awareness to that, to keep your awareness on treating yourself with kindness, compassion, and love, to practice that in this time. You take a few breaths to set any personal intention you might be working on. And then making sure you've got room, you're not going to smack your arm on anything. Keep those girdles engaged as much as feels good. Lifting up above your head, those shoulder girdles engaged so you get that nice stretch along your side and back body. Hands come down. You're being careful with those elbows. Another inhale, lifting up. Try to really keep that lower girdle engaged to stay supported. Third time. And then we sealed those intentions in, and now we'll begin to move. I am sitting up a little bit higher on a blanket, so I'm going to take a second and just move off of that. I'm also going to take a second to get a drink, just to wet my whistle. And I'm going to open this blanket up. You're unfolding your leg. Drop your knees side to side, letting yourself start to open up that front body. You're in charge of how close they are to each other. They may be close, may be far away. You're not putting any weight on those limbs, and that's just to get yourself in that, just woken up from that seated position. And if you started any other way, you're taking care of yourself to get to that seated position. So if you started laying down, you've rolled to one side and pressed yourself up, and you've moved however feels good. We're going to come right into that forward fold. Is one of my very favorite things. I like to come in right from the start. It really just, it takes a lot of awareness to be in this pose and hold yourself. That's why I want you to support yourself however feels good. Don't put any harsh strain on your limbs. Keep those knees bent and those kneecaps pulled up. Inhaling and exhaling, and we're just going to start to hinge forward. This is where the block comes in. You don't have to reach for your feet. You can reach for the blocks if that feels more comfortable. Try to feel more like though your trunk is moving forward and then your limbs are just reaching forward gently. So you're still trying to find that gentle spread of your collarbone at all times. So it's still this idea of pulling the back body down and then lifting the front body no matter what position you are in. Then you're going to let yourself come up. My legs are really active here because that lower body is always in that supported position for me. Here's where I'm going to let those legs relax, and I'm going to just gently just kind of wiggle the leg on the floor. You, of course, could also bend. Like anything's on the table as long as it feels good and doesn't hurt you and doesn't strain anything, because we're going to come back to that same position, but we're going to add some rotation of the spine as well. So once again, you're in charge. I loved, well, this, we don't really need blocks. Of course you can use them, but it's going to be on the side of your leg. So you're sitting in that upright position. This position right here, this, I think it's called staff. Yes, staff position. This is, imagine, you know, if you just were to come up onto standing, your feet are flexed like you're on the floor. Your knees are bent because your hamstrings are probably tight because all we all do is sit all the time. We never do anything. That's not true, but even if you are really active, right, your hamstrings need to be stretched out, and we're all in varying degrees. But you're finding that hinge. And so you're going to then let yourself hinge forward. Let's let those arms come forward. It doesn't have to be all the way, because I want you to have room to gently reach that right arm over towards that left leg. And so try to stay with that lifted feeling as you lift and rotate the heart. Try to keep the navel pointed towards between your legs as you lift and rotate the heart. And maybe it feels really good to reach far for that foot, and maybe you're like, man, no, it doesn't. It feels better to be upright and just reaching this arm back, which of course you're paying attention to how you're holding that elbow and that wrist, and you can always just bring it right to your low back. Keep trying to bring your navel to right between your toes, and then you're twisting and rotating that upper body. It is at the thoracic back, the middle back. So I went to the left. If you didn't go to the left, just make sure that you manage that. I'm going to let this arm come back, still protecting it. I'm going to bring myself back into that natural neutral position. Let those legs just relax, move however feels good. Notice how your body feels coming back into your natural state. It's not the same as it was before. It's a little bit different. Hopefully you're starting to feel that energy, especially when you activate. So you're activating those lower limbs. Again, now this time I'm going to reach to the right. My right arm is back here. So I'm not going to be facing you, but I'll be talking loud. So you will still hear me. But I still want you to find that hinge sensation, and only hinge as far forward as feels good. Remember to have those legs be nice and active. Pull those kneecaps up into your thighs. Here's where the left arm is reaching for that right leg, but I'm keeping that shoulder engaged. I'm not reaching too far towards my foot. I'm going to keep my back pocket square, so my low back is square, my navel square, and I'm going to lift and rotate my heart to the right. This right arm, if it feels like a broken wing out here and you don't like it, you can also go for right where your tail would be, right? You are bringing, you're making that tail so you don't have to reach any further. Inhale it. You're still getting that rotation. We sat here for another inhale and exhale, and then we came out. We hold the pose, but we don't hold our breath. So let yourself just knock those legs gently. Do some gentle circles. We'll come around. I'm going to strip these socks off. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself and removing the layers as you need to. We're going to come back into that first child's pose. I still got the cushion down for comfort. I'm actually going to reach forward with the blocks. Now, this on the blocks, it's a lot. If you've never done it and you're not used to it, it can be really, really taxing. And if you use the blocks like you see me use the blocks, guess what? You know what I'm doing, right? I'm doing all that engagement. That engagement is what helps to keep you protected. I'm trying to get you to pull into your midline, and I'm coming down to child as I talk you through this. I'm coming to pull into your midline, and then reach from that pull into your midline, and how your front body and your back body work together along with your upper body and your lower body. Your right side, your left side. I mean, it's all happening. Your brain is part of this whole intelligence system. And then, you have some control over it. You can learn to put the weight in your trunk, and then just use your limbs for that, bringing things closer to you. You're always being careful with the digits at the end of your limbs. So let's come into that stable table. Let's make that cushion for your knees if you need it. The knees come right underneath those hips. Hands come right underneath those shoulders, and you are engaging that trunk right away. Hold yourself right behind your navel, right in front of your tail, and you're doing that teeny tiny pelvic tilt. So I'm not quite doing a full cat and cow. I'm doing a teeny tiny pelvic tilt to find my pelvis in that place of support, which is pulling the back body down, lifting the front body. And then I'm going to pull the blades together, pull them apart all the while keeping my elbows protected by keeping them nice and soft. And so that place of support is blades pulled apart, tail pulled down, navel and heart lifted up. And then your cat and cow is right in that thoracic middle back that gets no love, that doesn't have the movement that is typically seen like in that lower back and then that upper neck back area, right? Like the lumbar lower back and then the cervical upper back, they're pretty flexible. You can move that around. I want you to stabilize and protect those places and then try to always get your movement more in that middle thoracic area. And it makes a huge difference to me, that engagement. I hope you notice it too. All right, here's where we've done that cat and cow. We've held those engaged poses for a little bit. This is where you release and reset, because that's part of it too. That is what it's all about. It's all about all of it. It's all about the movement and the engagement and the hold, and paying attention to your breath. I'm getting another drink really quick. You're protecting those joints. Inhale and exhale. Of course, I've always got those nice little foot cramps, but they have I'll tell you, they used to be horrid. I mean, I think they're still the same, but they're just, I don't know, they're better. They're not even that bad. I'm grateful for my foot cramps. It means that I'm moving, even though it's sometimes painful, and I'm very careful. I'm not getting mad at myself. I am just gently working through it. You see me back there moving that? That's what I'm doing. All right. You are coming up into that stable table. Keep those elbows from hyperextending. I don't want you to hyperextend anything. Here's where you're going to curl your toes. You're in that stable table, back body pulled down, front body pulled up. Try to stay in that position as you curl those toes and lift into your downward dog. Remember, if you don't want to downward dog it, you can always stay in stable table and rest back in child whenever you need to. Let yourself breathe full and deep. Yes, it feels good to come up on those toes and stretch, but I want you to settle in on your balls. In fact, I bet you probably need to walk your stance in just a little bit closer in order to find that place of support. Your balls are engaged, your toes lifted. Your heels may or may not touch the floor. You've definitely got those knees bent. You've definitely got those elbows nice and soft. Your kneecaps pulled up into your thighs, breathing full and deep. And still there's that stretch at your collarbone. Let yourself come to the front of your space however feels good. Maybe that means drop to hands and knees and step up. Maybe that means walk up, and you can always use whatever support is available to you that makes sense. So I love to use blocks. I get those legs right under me. This is you finding that place of support. So I like to play around with coming back. I'm using these blocks. I'm pulling back. I'm holding myself right there behind my navel, in front of my tail. I'm coming all the way back on those heels. I've got my knees nice and protected. I'm going to bring myself forward just to feel like it would feel like if I was going to do a somersault, which I am not going to do a somersault. But that's just to get into that place. I like to play around with that awareness of how I'm holding myself in my body. And yes, I know forward fold is like the most uncomfortable. We were here earlier, right? We were in that staff position. Here it is in that forward fold. You're trying to find the hinge of your hips, not the bend of your belly. So really try to get your chest down towards your thighs. Really keep those knees bent. Eventually you're going to be done with movement. This is really taxing. It doesn't matter how flexible you are, adding that engagement to a degree that feels good adds that little, it just helps you in that place of support. So then when you come from your inhale and you lift up, right, you are holding yourself in that back body, and that front body and that upper body feel light. Exhale, you're going to hinge back down, keep those knees bent to protect those hamstrings. So here's where really put that weight in that back body. That back and lower body is what's going to keep you supported. Inhaling halfway up, you feel that heart's a little bit lighter. So now it's the upper body helping to lift. Inhale, exhale, back down to the floor. The next time you can come up in that great big reverse swan dive, keeping that back nice and flat. If you feel like you're going to not like that, then come up in steps. Press yourself up in from that awkward chair, and then when you feel stable, you're reaching up into the space above you and only coming into as much back bend as feels good. But come into that mountain pose where you find once again those balls and heels connected to the floor. So definitely those balls. Lift those digits, spread those toes as far and up as you can without straining, right? I don't want anything to hurt. It's one of those things that the more you play with it, the better it's going to feel and be. And then bring them forward however feels good for that gentle engagement on the mat. Your toes really never do anything. In fact, I want you to put the weight in the balls. Knees are bent and the kneecaps are pulled up into your thighs. You do that first girdle engagement where you pull that back body down, lift that front body. So this is navel dimples down. You are solid. Your joints are protected, so your knees are not hyperextended, and you're not putting any pressure on your toes. And then navel dimples up. I hope it feels light as a feather as your heart lifts and your blades gently come down, feeling that slight stretch on your collarbone. Keep pressing the top of your head, the crown of your head up to the sky. Try to keep the back of your neck long, so it's a slight tuck of your chin, and it is this sensation of your arms plugged in, so your sockets are completely engaged as your arms reach out and you're protecting those elbows and those delicate digits. Breathing full and deep, so not hyperextending, not straining. And this is mountain, and I want you to practice this everywhere. I want you to find your mountain. This is a power pose. This pose right here where you connect to the power that is you, and this is, practice this as much as you can. I recommend doing this while you're doing dishes or standing in line, and you don't have to be barefoot. Hopefully you're always in comfortable shoes, because what would be the point of walking around if your shoes were uncomfortable? Never more. So you have room to move your feet and toes. That's what I'm saying. You have room to engage, hopefully. All right, towards the front of your space, we're going to move at a pretty, not too fast a pace, but of course you can always go faster if that's what suits you. You are engaging in that mountain pose. You've got your joints protected and your sockets engaged. You're going to inhale and lift into as much of a back bend as feels good. You're always in charge. Exhale, you're always in charge of how your arms are coming forward into that forward fold. Really put that weight in that back body. Inhale halfway into that flat back. Here's where we're going to come down. I am going to be on blocks to step back into that plank. Knee down plank. This is a lot, especially if you're on blocks. And if you are on blocks, remember to protect yourself. I'm going to actually come down to my knees, and then keeping those shoulders out of my ears, come down to the belly. We're going to lift up into just a few baby cobras. Let the body do the work. The arms are really not doing the work. They're gently on the floor. You're pulling those elbows back, but you are lowering and lifting. If you feel open to pause, that lower body is super heavy. If you feel open to come into a cobra or an up dog, it's totally up to you. And then decide, do you want to come back down to your belly and press up, or curl your toes wherever you're at, protecting those elbows, protecting those knees. Find yourself in that downward dog. Inhale and exhale. This is a hinge as you press yourself evenly away from the floor with both your upper and your lower body. So I want you to try to feel that evenness between both of them. Protecting those joints, coming however feels good to you up to the front of the space. So maybe it's through table and step up. You're in that forward fold. Inhale, half A, flat back. Exhale, keep your back nice and long and flat as you hinge. Inhale, same idea. Keep it nice and long as you reach up into that great big reverse thing, as whatever that reverse thing looks like to you. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy or big. And then Coming forward, you're hinging. Keep pulling those kneecaps up into your thighs and keeping those knees nice and thin. Or nice and thin. Those knees pulled up and nice and soft. Lift up halfway, flat back, come back down to step back into that plank, knee down plank, to release down to the belly, to then lift up into your cobra or up dog. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's baby cobra. And then once again back into that downward dog, breathing full and deep. Pay attention to your navel. That is where you're moving from. That is your center of gravity. We're going to come up to our space again. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to look the same. You are finding yourself in that forward fold. Make sure you feel steady and supported, and then lift halfway, flat back, to then come back down to your feet, to then lift up. So you're trying to keep yourself in that hinge position. Now you're coming into that reverse hinge to come into that gentle back bend, but keep that pelvis engaged. Same idea, pelvis engaged. You're hinging, moving at that socket of where your leg and your trunk meet, halfway into that flat back to come back down into that plank, knee down plank, to then release down to the belly into your cobra or up dog. Once again, it does not matter. And then we're going to pause here in the downward dog. Make sure you get to a place where you feel even between your upper and your lower body, and try to find that stretch in that back body. And then after a couple breaths, make your way down to rest completely in your child. Stay with your breath. Inhale and exhale. I'm going to grab another quick drink. Make sure you are taking care of yourself. All right, so let's play around. We've got some time. We've got our energy build up, the oxygenated blood flowing around. We're going to come into, I'm just going to pull these blocks up to the front of my space so they're there. You can come through table or downward dog. This is where we can play around with a little bit of that three-legged dog. Make sure you're not going to kick anything, and you can always be in a three-legged table. Make sure that that left leg, that left foot, you're on the ball of that foot, not those toes. And then lift that right leg as high as feels good. I like to crack stuff a lot. I'm always like cracking my knees. I'm protecting my elbows. Inhale and exhale. You're going to keep pulling that right leg forward to come into that runner's lunge. And of course you can be like, no thanks, and come down to hands and knees. Or maybe you take 2 or 3 steps forward, but you're going to be on railroad tracks. Left leg behind, right leg in front. Make sure that right knee is right over that right ankle. And your legs are not internally or externally rotated. You're going to let yourself lift up. So if you feel unsteady, just take a breath or reach for something to steady. Like here's where I say have a chair or a wall nearby. Practice yoga so you've got a wall so you can reach. I want you to find, here's another way though to help you feel steady. Those back pockets are square. Your front pockets are square. That right toe, big toe, I'll move this so you maybe can see it, even though it's the floor. That big toe is doing no work. It's all about the ball. Same with the left big toe. It's got a nice stretch because it's pressing back there, but I want you to find the ball of that left foot and engage from there, and then feel that left hip pull forward as that right hip pulls back. Inhale and exhale. This is just crescent lunge. You can make the lever harder and more taxing on your trunk if you keep your trunk engaged and reach over your head. It can minimize it a little bit, but still keep yourself active, pulling down into goal pose, and of course, hands at your heart. Our hips are not as active. You're really engaging that lower body. Inhale and exhale. Here's where we're going to, and you want to use support if you've got it near you, if that was what makes sense, because we're going to do kind of a complex thing, but hopefully it's add some relief. Staying with that awareness of your body and your trunk, you're going to externally rotate the right leg, internally rotate the left leg, keeping that front right knee bent, keeping those kneecaps pulled up into your thighs. See how I'm moving my legs apart? It doesn't have to be like one fell swoop. You don't have to be in the same place. So I'm now in that warrior two. So it's just a way to transition into warrior two, but I'm bringing your awareness to how you are internally rotating that back leg right here at your hip socket, keeping that kneecap protected, still putting the weight in the pinky toe side of your foot. That same idea, that right leg though is externally rotating right here. So it's like you are doing that all with the inside. Same idea, back pocket, front pocket. And then reach into your warrior two, breathing full and deep. All right, we're going to bring ourselves then and lift. Your arms can come down to help. Bring those legs in a little bit. And then we're going to rotate. So I wanted you to make sure you were stable, and I wanted to make sure I was stable. And this is where I want you to make sure you don't have anything too much in front of you. Because we just did Crescent Lunge to Warrior 2, but now we're going to come into Warrior 3. And I like to use blocks. I've also got this little table right here. You've got that left leg in front, and you're now pressing that right leg back behind you in that Warrior 3. Inhale and exhale. So hopefully you feel a little bit of relief because that back leg probably got a lot of engagement. Protect those kneecaps. Don't hurt yourself. You're hinging forward into that standing side split. Let that left leg reach far above your head, as far above your head as feels good as you still press down into the floor, protecting both knees. And then keeping your awareness on how you're holding yourself right there behind your navel in front of your tail. Let those left toes gently come down to the mat. You're back in that runner's lunge. And then you're going to step back into your plank, knee down plank, and then you're going to decide, yes, I love that flow. So you're going to release to the floor and then lift yourself into cobra. Or you're going to come right to your downward dog and let yourself marinate there for 2 to 3 breaths, or you're going to make your way down and rest in your child because you're like, wow, that was a lot. Because hopefully you feel it in your hip. The hip is feeling more energized. I really had you isolate those. I think I'm going to have to strip this layer off on top. I'm turning around so I can stay facing you. I want you. We're just going to do the other side as I strip a layer off. So it's all about whatever feels good. It doesn't have to be the same as the other side. That left leg comes up, whether it's three-legged table or three-legged dog, playing around. We're trying to find that awareness of how you're holding yourself in your trunk. So this should be, your trunk is holding you, and this gives this beautiful stretch on the back of that right leg as I protect that knee. That's what I feel. I want you to feel that too because it's amazing. All right, bring yourself up into your runner's lunge. So your legs are in a neutral position. They are not internally or externally rotated. They are in a neutral position coming right out of your hip in order to help keep you stabilized into this crescent lunge. Of course, I didn't mention this before. If you want to smear down that back foot, of course you totally can. And come into warrior 1, and then that makes it a warrior 1, a warrior 2, and a warrior 3, which I don't know why I didn't do that, but we started with crescent, and we're just going to go with it because that's the way I roll. So you're still holding yourself in that trunk and only adding whatever engagement feels good to you. All right, here's where you protect yourself as you move, because it's a complex move and you're protecting yourself as you do that. The left leg now externally rotates. You lift your trunk, you internally rotate that right leg, smear down that back foot if it isn't already. I've got to move my legs a little bit further apart. Keep those knees protected. The trunk comes down in between and you're in that beautiful warrior 2. Inhale and exhale. Stay with your breath. Let the breath be full and deep. All right, here's where we play around with that, how we hold ourselves. It's okay if it feels awkward or strange. I kind of want to knock you a little bit because it's a safe place, right? So we're going to bring that back leg, and I'm protecting myself as I pull that left leg, or that right leg forward, and then I'm coming over that left leg. I'm actually going to pull that left leg back a little bit So then lift that right leg now to come into that standing, that warrior three to start with, using whatever support. You don't have to be balancing. In fact, I find if you're supported, you're able to get your trunk, because all the same shit applies, and all the same stuff applies no matter what you are doing with your body. You're gonna, as you come forward, I just felt myself put pressure on my toes. You might be doing the same. Please don't. Come back into the ball. As you lift that right leg now into whatever standing split looks like to you. And then back into that runner's lunge, very, 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 very gently. To step back, to decide, do you want to move through that flow? Do you want to lift up to a downward dog, breathing full and deep, and then make your way to child? Or do you want to come right to child? Because it's all, right? It's all available. It's whatever works for you. You are always doing whatever is best for you. Inhale and exhale. I got really worked up there. I feel like and also I don't have my air on, so that could be another reason. But it was a gentle rain here on the prairie, and I had the window open. I was enjoying it, and I thought, how lovely is it that I get to go teach yoga just in the next room? I don't even have to drive anywhere in this rain. So yeah, I am so thankful to be here with you all. Thank you so much. We're winding down. I want you to take your time. I'm coming forward to get into a meditative posture. I want you to take your time getting a drink and start to build yourself a little rest nest, if that is what you want to do. If you want to go into Shavasana, regular relaxation, it can, and I want it to be as supported as you want to make it. I want you to put the bolster underneath your knees or the blocks underneath your knees. That feels really good. If you want to do a heart opener or a gentle twist, try to keep the twist in the thoracic back. Not that I'm the boss of you, because you're always the boss of you. You can, of course, crack your low back, but your low back doesn't really need as much cracking as I think you think it does. I'm telling you the difference in everything, especially no pain at 52, almost 53, going on 53. It's amazing what the lift of the girdle does. That upper girdle lifting. So let yourself settle in. Thank you once again for joining me. Hopefully you are staying for relaxation, because this is the most important posture. This is where it all integrates. I'll be meditating, so that's also an option. whatever position you're in, you're slowly waking up, whether it be from relaxation or meditation, letting yourself slowly start to move with those lower extremities first, the digits, the fingers, the toes, and the gentle circling of the wrists and ankles, the bend of knees and elbows. If you're on your back, hug and rock in if that feels good. Rolling to one side, resting in that fetal-like position. If you're seated, make sure that you are arranging your legs so you're comfortable. Everyone bring their awareness to your navel. That navel is where you began. That navel is where you started. So if you need a place to return to come to, especially when you feel upset about everything that's going on or in the world and in your life, because it's going to happen, it's going to keep being upsetting, return to yourself, connect with your breath, be grateful. So if you're still laying down, you can press yourself up. The hands can come to your heart. Take a moment to return to the intention you set. See if it's something you can take with you off the mat. And please do, and I definitely encourage you to take all the stuff I talked about, the body supporting and then lifting, all coming from within, treating yourself with kindness. Namaste. Thank you so much.